This isn't a story about death.
He was down.
Something's really not right.
This guy is going to die in front of our eyes right now.
There was a lot of panic.
This is a story about cheating death.
His heart stopped, and I think for all intents and purposes, he died, I think, 2 or 3 times on the court.
At the hospital, the doctor said apparently 95% of people that this happened to do not survive.
It was a typical Tuesday night at the Widgie Creek pickleball facility. Mark King had accepted an invitation to join his neighbor and a group of friends to play a little pickleball.
The last thing I really remember was being a little winded.
Mark, 61 years old, recently retired, was enjoying spending his days being active.
He came here and he was in a playground, just doing everything and loving it all.
By his own and others' accounts, he was in great shape.
Really, I thought I was in the best shape of my life.
Well, you were. People were telling you that all the time.
But as the pickleball game wore on, he began to feel a little short of breath. And then, it was lights out.
Heard a big commotion and turned over, and he was down.
Mark had suffered a massive heart attack. Joe Bauman works at the pickleball facility and was on duty that night.
To hear them yelling for help, and so I'm working at the desk and I look up over there and I walk over to see what's going on and I see them laying somebody down onto the floor and they're in a panic. So I run over to get the AED, thinking just in case. He collapsed on court 6 right over here, and so I had to come over here and that's where I saw that the guys were laying him down onto the floor, and I had to run back to the desk to get the AED and pretty much sprint back here because, in the moment, it's just we need to get this on fast.
By the time Joe arrived on the court with AED in hand, Mark's friends were already performing CPR.
One of their members is doing CPR on the guy. He's unconscious on the floor, and so we put on the AED. It starts delivering shocks and saying to do CPR, and so I do compressions, and he's unconscious through all this.
Mark was dead. His heart had stopped, but Joe continued following the AED's instructions, and on the 3rd shock, Mark came to.
While I was doing compressions on him after the 3rd shock, he starts pushing me away with his hand saying, "Stop!" He woke up, and that was pretty surprising.
The ambulance arrived, and Mark was rushed to the hospital, where he would undergo 6.5 hours of heart surgery.
And the doctor took him in to have done what we thought was just going to be a stint, where they go in and put a couple stints, and, he came out and said, this is an emergency.
He said that he had never seen a heart with so much wrong on a person that was still alive.
I said to the doctor, because he still wasn't out of the woods. And I said, what am I supposed to tell my kids? Because I didn't want to say everything's going to be okay when I didn't know if everything was going to be okay. And he looked me in the eye and he said, you tell them their dad died, his friends revived him, I fixed him. That's what you tell your kids. And that really, really hit.
A quintuplet bypass was performed, and Mark was out of the woods.
It hasn't brought about fear of death at all.
It's been 2 weeks since Mark collapsed. 2 weeks since Joe Bauman, a man Mark's never met, saved his life.
I don't know what to say with Joe. I mean, what do you say to a guy Joe? He was prepared. He did his thing. How can I reward him? How can I thank him?
Sometimes the words don't matter. The emotions say it all.
I don't know what I can say to you.
But I'm glad you're okay. I'm really glad.
Yeah, the doctor said you guys just all did what you had to do. Totally perfect. He said getting to him was a 5% chance.
Yeah, I'm still shocked by it all, really.
You know, I don't know what to say to thank you, and hopefully I can either pay it forward or I can do something to help you or whatever.
You don't have to do anything. Just the fact that you're alive it's incredible enough. Like,
Thank you.
it's okay.
You're a hero and an angel and a...
Mark and Joe, a husband and a hero, and a happy ending to a pickleball game that was as serious as a heart attack.
I'm trying to figure out which ones killed me that day. He was the right person at the right place at the right time for me that day, and he executed.
He's an angel.